doesn't have any issues because I'm not getting good reception right now. I hope that this video is shared out. I'm going to talk about some of the things I have been hearing from military members in our group. Also, this is going to be a little bit different. Normally, I have some sort of bullet points of what I was going to talk about. But there's been many things that have happened in the last 24 hours that are really, really big. And of course, it's going to be treated that way. I think luckily, this is going to be this mainstream kind of cycle of everybody's going to be freaking out right now. But for once, I actually agree with what is happening. So if you don't know about the Kremlin event, I'll talk about that here in just a second. The Victory Day canceled there. There's all sorts of events that are going on in Russia. There was another hit from UKR right into Russia. There's all sorts of other things that are coming out at the same time, which are very serious as far as AI goes. IBM is actually going to pause hiring for jobs that could be done by AI. This is absolutely terrifying. But first off, this Kremlin event, I was actually just talking to Alaska Prepper earlier, and I actually agree with him. I've been talking with several people lately, and it's kind of like we're past the point of, woe is me, poor me, I can't do this, I can't do that. If people are going to start prepping, or if they haven't started prepping more so, there are things that everybody can do, and there are things that you can do even if you have not a dollar to your name. There are things that you can do if you literally have nothing, or if you are living on nothing. There are things you can do. If you want to dehydrate, go to every garage sale you can, ask around, go on the internet, go to Craigslist, try to find one for free. If you want to get into that kind of thing. I'm just saying, if there's something that's out of your reach, I actually agree with Alaska Prepper. Set a goal on how to get that. Right now, things are getting progressively worse. The Kremlin event, as far as there's been 1 or 2 drones that actually hit. I believe the video is of the second drone hitting by the flag. Now, I don't know if there was some sort of other building. I don't believe it was the main center of the Kremlin, but they're now saying that this is possibly anti-Vlad Russians inside of his country. This is something I said 2 days ago and yesterday, said that it seemed like all of the pieces that were being set up to where there was going to be an event for them to have an excuse to then go and do something a whole lot worse to UKR. As far as everybody is questioning on what's going on with that, as far as these drones ended up, they say it was some sort of attempt on Putin's life, and it may be multiple in the last couple weeks. These are the things that cause major escalations, whether it was done by a 3-letter agency on their side, a 3-letter agency on our side, if it was UKR, if it was somebody else. This was very big. And the reason I know it was very big is our military group emailed in mass. There's been a lot of messages, a lot of memos, a lot of chatter going out. And then, of course, there are a lot of events happening at the same time. There's kind of all of these different paths that things are collapsing. There's the financial collapse that people are watching, the banks falling apart. There's, of course, the demic that happened in 2019 that totally screwed up everything financially. There's also the fact that they're preparing for some sort of large event. They're drilling all over the world for some sort of war, and they're also drilling for essentially some sort of cyber event. Now, as far as cyber goes, I would highly recommend, I'll show you clips of it tonight, but they're actually adding in, there's always been a war clause in a lot of insurances, but they're actually just now adding cyber into that. And Alaska Prepper did a great video on essentially somebody sent him something after 20 years of going with the same insurance. Essentially, it adds in war and cyber clause. Now, the war clause is something that is actually kind of normal, but his insurance in particular actually did not have any kind of war clause, or they were expanding on it. A lot of insurance companies are actually expanding, and now they're adding cyber to that. Obviously, we have the 93% of world experts at the Davos said that it is likely we will have a catastrophic cyber event. This is something that people really need to take seriously. Whether you think that, they're just, distracting us, or they're this and that, the whole point of prepping is to prep for things that are unlikely. And as unlikely as you think it is, there's Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen will happen. And frankly, it seems like everything that could happen has happened. As far as the CV, whoever you thought was behind it or whatever it happened and how it happened, doesn't really matter less than the fact that all of our lives were affected by how it came down on us. Not so much the actual thing, but the results from that thing that actually happened. There's a lot of weird stuff we're going to talk about on tonight's show, like 35 members at the cat and the dog and the cat ended up coming down with the same thing at one of their meetings. Now there's a probe into that. We'll talk about that tonight. And it was a type of the CV. And then, of course, the Kremlin event. The Kremlin event is now giving them fodder to say, oh, well, we're going to do this. They're saying that this was some sort of group inside of Vlad's country. But again, we've all kind of seen this progress throughout over months and months and months. And even over the last year, they've been adding anti-air in Russia in different places, including in Moscow, adding anti-air on top of roofs and everything like this. So this is definitely something that is not going to go right. A door was just opened that can't close. So on top of everything else, the AI destruction, the financial collapse, and the conflict, you may think, oh well, it's I guess a fear mongering or this or that. At this point, all of us and myself and my peers, we're just not going to care if we lose people because they think we're fear mongering. At this point, it's time to stop, kind of pretending everything is okay. People need to have a basic plan. People need to have a plan with family on where they're going to go and how they're going to go. And if you share this with somebody normal, and if you are somebody who never looks at this kind of content, I would highly recommend you to at least get into the basic levels of this stuff, because every day there are people like myself and my peers that are following this stuff, and the patterns are clear as day. Anybody with common sense can see that we are headed to a precipice, and we're almost there. And not only are we almost there, we're so close you can smell it. And if you're one of the many people that has 3 days of food in your fridge, then you need to change that. And you need to change that now. And if you say, well, I can't do it because I don't have money, there are people like Alaska Prepper, there's people like Survival Living, there's all sorts of resources out there while you still have the internet that you can, of course, learn how to do a ton. And if you say, I don't have time, everybody has time. If you sit on the toilet, you could learn something new every time you use the bathroom. And frankly, that's the truth. Even if you spend 10 minutes on the toilet a day, you could learn something. So don't say you don't have time to learn about what to do, because right now is really imperative that people start preparing. And if you don't like this view on it, this is voluntary. You don't have to watch these channels. If you don't like scary movies, you don't have to watch scary movies. But right now, the entire world is a scary movie. And it's not going to go back to normal. Nothing is ever going to go back to normal. And in fact, with the AI and everything that's going on, even if we don't have a conflict, even if we don't have a financial collapse, most of us will have our internal financial collapse, because we won't be able to get jobs. If you think about it, if these large companies are essentially pausing jobs for hiring anybody that a AI could do, that's a really terrifying thing. This is happening way too fast. And people are saying that we need to regulate it. I think that they needed to regulate it yesterday. As far as we're going to cover some other additional stuff tonight, as far as Russia threatened right after this happened. They threatened nuclear retaliation after accusing UKR of trying to take out Vlad. I mean, this can't be understated. This is really big. They're canceling things in certain areas. So when we look at this later tonight, you'll see that maybe these are areas that they are preparing to actually have some sort of event. And I forget what it's called. It's the Bryansk Oblast, but they're actually canceling the Victory Day celebration only in certain areas. So that's probably where this offensive is going to go down. Everybody has been talking about this offensive. A lot of folks are just going to kind of poo-poo this and say, oh, it's all a big circus. At this point, this circus is actually meant to change everything around us. And if you think differently, please let me know in the comments below what you think. But again, my thoughts are pretty solid on this. As a prepper, this is why we prep. This is why we try to come up with plans and contingency plans for these things. Right now, it is the worst it's ever been, I believe, in my lifetime. And sure as heck, it's very close to where it was in the previous years before I was born. So people really need to get their stuff together, have a basic plan, get your ducks in a row. We're also going to be talking about the different places that were struck. And then we're also going to talk about the Air Force, how they've been slowly pulling out of Taiwan. And then the probe, after 35 tests positive for the CIV after having a meeting. Is this something new that is about to get out? I hope not. But we'll talk about that as well tonight. And then, of course, they are denying that they did this, and they're saying that it was some sort of Russian group. This is all a big deal. This gives a reason for things to escalate very, very fast. So we've been waiting for a kind of event like this. We just talked about an event like this last night, and we talked about it the night before, and now it happens. And the reason why we see it coming is because of the articles they put out pre-hand. And you could say that that kind of shows sign that it is somehow, orchestrated, this or that. Whatever it is, it's definitely going to be shown to us a certain way. And then after it's shown to us, they're going to show us the solution. And the solution will probably restrict some way of our life. Or it will change our life forever. As far as WW3 and a cyber event that could hit the United States, since Russia dang well knows that pretty much UKR attacking them, or UKR is backed up, and being told what to do by certain parties. It's kind of like, who do you strike back at? You strike back at them, or do you strike back at the head of the snake? So pay attention, people. Please get your stuff together. Also, go over to marfooglenews.com if you do want to protect your cars and your trucks against an EMP. There's the EMP shield. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. We're independent. We're on our own right now, and it's going to get even worse. And I hope that we can stick around. But go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can get a device that can actually be wired into your car in less than 10 minutes, and it can protect you against EMP or even CME, a solar event. We'll also talk about how they are actually talking about how Vlad or someone there is actually saying that the U.S. would take Russia in the event of Yellowstone going off. This is probably the wildest story of the day as far as that piece. It's absolutely wild. And this is actually from a big source here. So they're saying that they want to take, Putin ally claims that U.S. wants to take over Russia in case Yellowstone volcano erupts. Now that sounds nuts. But I'll talk about what I think about that and previous stories that might actually have something to do with this, like NASA's plan to save Yellowstone. Maybe they know something is coming that we don't. It's, of course, overdue by some scientists, and it's got hundreds of thousands of years by others. So we'll talk about that tonight over on our sister channel, Marfoogle TV. Make sure to get over there. We'll be on in about 20 minutes, 7:15 p.m. Pacific, 10:15 p.m. Eastern. So make sure to hop over. And again, thank you guys. I hope that everybody gets to tonight's show. It's going to be a very important one. Again, that's at Marfoogle TV, our sister channel. Very easy to find. Go down to the show links. You can find a full bibliography for everything that I just mentioned here. And you can find a whole lot more. You can find an archived bank of all of our shows right there. And you can go back and look at the same articles that I'm going to be mentioning tonight. Have a good night, guys. Thank you. And again, thank you as well for everybody that showed up and everybody in advance for sharing this out to all your social media. And thank you so much for just showing up. Thank you, guys. Please be the matriarch or the patriarch of your family. If you need something, there's community members that will tell you how to find, how to do it. Please get your stuff together. Have a good night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. We'll see you in a few minutes over on our sister channel.